Hello there, guys. Today I am going to talk you through the painting of this philodendron piece. I have been doing botanical watercoloring for the past few months, both personally, so I sell at least one piece on my Etsy shop, and also for clients. So this particular piece is for a client, and I have been doing a lot of painting of palms and trying to paint philodendrons because I think that they're just really exotic and fabulous. But the philodendron has always eluded me until now, and what I figured out was I had to do something so with botanicals, oftentimes I will freehand them because I think it just gives it sort of almost more of a lifelike quality. But the philodendron is just absolutely too complex for me to freehand. It was just not working out. So yes, the shape of the philodendron is quite complex, and I did find that I had to spend quite some time getting the pencil sketch right before I could start watercoloring. So that's a long way of saying step one is pencil sketching. And then I think I've got about 8 leaves here that I paint. And one of the things that I wanted to do was just achieve a nice sort of mix of a bunch of cool shades. So we've got blues and greens, and I just kind of went to town and used the whole spectrum of those colors. It kept the painting interesting for me. Another thing that I wanted to achieve in this piece is just doing it all in one layer. I didn't want to do 2 layers. One of the reasons is because this large sheet of paper, this paper is I think 18 by 24, and the quality of the paper is not great. It's definitely sort of like the lowest grade watercolor paper, and it's a Canson paper. I'll link it below. It's what I use to do all of my practice things and even some final things if I want a certain feel to them. You'll see that it actually granulates the watercolor more than, say, an Arch's higher quality cotton paper. But it does not take 2 layers well at all. So I wanted to do 1 layer also because this I had to do this piece on somewhat of a tight timeline. So I am being pretty liberal with the application of saturation at certain points, and I also just really wanted to sort of play up the quality of watercolor that I like best, which is like the happy accidents and the variation that you can get just by letting the water and the pigment do its thing. So I definitely was doing a lot of that, a lot of wet on wet techniques. So I'll kind of go in and put a bunch of water on a leaf and just dab the pigment and see what happens. And because I had the piece mapped out, it was honestly quite relaxing painting this. I didn't really have anything much to think about. It's kind of like just coloring in the philodendrons and, choosing whether I want it to be more blue or more green or more green yellow or whatever. You do have to let the leaves fully dry if you're painting one next to the other, if you don't want them to bleed, which I didn't. So I painted this in a few stages. I suppose it's also worth noting, for a piece like this, get a paintbrush that you absolutely love to work with. This paintbrush is a Princeton synthetic hair number 6, and it's a new paintbrush of mine, and it's my new favorite paintbrush. I used to be loyal to my number 8, but man, this number 6, just by virtue of the point of it, and then that you can get such thick lines as well, it's rocking my world. So make sure you have a paintbrush you love. And as usual in this video, I tried to put a few pieces in real time so you can see how careful I actually am and how long it actually takes me when I paint this kind of thing. It takes a while, and I actually find taking my time painting it to be more relaxing and enjoyable. It is really, really relaxing for me to do a watercolor piece like this. I just find like the different colors and seeing what they do in the water really therapeutic. So I actually really like taking my time. And a little trick with watercolor is if you do want that more intense variation effect, after you've painted in the whole shape, you can actually go in and add a drip of water, and you'll see that it just spreads the pigment for you. And it results in that kind of that watery effect that you can see sort of in the middle of some of the leaves. One slight challenge for this piece was just making sure that the watercolors didn't dry before I got around to painting the whole shape. So generally you want to paint sort of in one direction. You don't really want to start at the top and go to the bottom and then have to connect it all. You want all of your water to be connected so the whole leaf flows together, and because watercolor does dry quite quickly, so you just kind of want to keep each live section activated to get that sort of smooth, cohesive look. And this particular piece is going to be turned into a print on maple, in fact, a maple wood. So that should be interesting. But I will probably paint a few more philodendrons for other purposes, maybe sell some myself, but I can definitely see this becoming a really cool like wallpaper or even fabric or something like that. You know, just turning it into a pattern basically, and kind of playing up that tropical vibe, I think would be really cool for this kind of thing. So I am probably going to play around with some more philodendrons in the future. And as usual, the most satisfying part, just signing the piece. And that is it for me painting philodendrons. If you guys have been painting any botanicals, I would love to see them. And if you have any tips, please do share. The beautiful thing about watercolor is there's really no right or wrong way to do it. Everyone has their own little style, and that is what makes it wonderful. So until I talk to you again, TTFN.